going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is your preview for WWE, even though I hate calling it WWE, Vengeance Day, and that is Jake fucking DeMARCO. What's going on, buddy?
No oi yet, my friend, but
Not
we're
yet.
getting there. We're getting there.
It does have a little bit of a rumble vibe to it.
Oi. It does, right?
It does have a little bit of, we are ramping up, we are getting ready for Stand and Deliver, oi. It does have that rumble, like, this is building to this without being hit over the head. Even in the video package we saw at the end of NXT this week, they did that whole video package of Vengeance Day is where people set their sights out on the new year, blah, blah, blah. So it's very much, without having a gimmick attached to it, it's very much they're trying to present it as their Rumble-ish pay-per-view, like their pre-show to the big show.
Yeah.
And not the big show, because
exactly.
he's still in AEW. But...
the Super Show.
Oh
and
my God.
What kills
on the
me,
Superstation.
Hey, Super Showdown, you know? Oh, no, wait, that's Australia's Grand Slam. Sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. But
no, Super Showdown was the good show in Australia.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking of. So.
Oh, yeah, that's happening this weekend, too, isn't it? Let's briefly preview Grand Slam in Australia. It's going to suck, and it's going to fail.
Suck.
Over to you, Jake.
The card has nothing that reaches out to me that says this is a super show that needs to be viewed. Originally, I went to Grand Slam twice. Mm-hmm. I saw a Paige debut, you know, Sarai. The Acclaimed won the tag titles. That was great. But
actually, you know what? I'm going to counter you because there are two matches on that show that I do want to see. I just wish I knew where and when I could watch it. But hey. Like, if this was, like, all kidding aside, and we can go forever on the what have they done with this show type thing. If this was a pay-per-view, and I was looking forward to that, the Ospreay Omega, whatever, Don Callis family tag match, and the Mox and Claudio versus, what is it, Jay White and Edge/Cope.
Yeah.
Those two tag matches alone would make me tune into a pay-per-view, if it was a pay-per-view, if it was being presented like a pay-per-view. But tell me where it is. Tell me when it's coming on. Tell me where I can find it. Tell me I'm not going to read the spoilers 10 hours in advance.
So here's my thing. The Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, I get they're doing like the Dream Team, the Superpower, the Team Up. Oh my God, they're together. They hated each other. How could they? How would they? They did. You know, and we got them, you know, in unison leapfrogging and backflipping off of the truss support for the stage to come down on the Don Callis family. That's all it's going to be. It's going to be a showcase for these two. So right there, it already feels like house show match. Like there's no stakes. Konosuke Takeshita and Fletcher aren't going to win here. It's just a skipstone. And those aren't the worst things.
But here's the thing,
it's
though.
not drawing me in.
Here's the thing, though. To be fair, right? Let's use a WWE counterpart. I said this was going to be an NXT only pod, and we killed that in the first minute. That's okay. Say Sami Zayn turns heel and teams up with Kevin Owens.
Yes.
If they told you, with no story, with no booking, with no whatever, just, hey, tune into this random pay-per-view that we're just telling you about. The main event is Sami and KO versus Cody Rhodes and CM Punk teaming up for the first time. That's a match you would watch the fuck out of, and I don't care about the people that like drill down on story. There are still matches out there that are just give me that match, I'll watch it.
Absolutely. So I'll counter your point with another counterpoint and say that here's my thought. You just named top people that I truly adore and care about. Out of the four that we mentioned here, Ospreay, I do like to a certain extent. I'm not crazy about all of his gymnastic abilities in ring and some of his selling, but I do like him overall as a babyface leading the company. Kenny and I have never really seen eye to eye. Takeshita's good in the ring, but same thing with Fletcher at this point. Like, there's nothing pulling me in. As where like Kevin Owens and Cody, that ladder match, you knew Cody was going to walk away with the title.
And see, here's where I'll be nicer, because the stuff that you don't like about, or maybe you not like, but maybe it's not your cup of tea, right?
Yeah.
Like, Ospreay's there to do Ospreay things.
Exactly.
And this is not a standing up for AEW thing, but like I was the first one to say I was bummed we didn't get Ospreay.
Right? I was as well. And
Kenny Omega,
I accept him for an AEW audience. Like you said, it's honed in on that style. If he was in WWE, he would be doing more of a WWE style, which I'm more accustomed and preferential to. But I totally see your point. I wish we did get him still.
But I like that he ended up there because he is one of those ones where like the crap way they present him doesn't really matter because I'm going to see what he does in the ring. I was there to see him versus Omega in Toronto.
Yes.
It was right around the time that I was starting to come around on Omega. I used to be really down on Omega. Now I'm really not. He's come out and said and done a lot of things.
You and I are in the same boat. Yeah, so it's ever since Brawl Out, and he came out being like, I wanted to talk to Punk. I tried to have the meeting. It was the Elite that didn't want this.
Yep.
And all of his comments about Roman Reigns and how he wasn't tribalistic and he's very, like, everything is great in the sense of, like, I like all wrestling.
Yep.
I really came around to Kenny, and I feel like time away from him and that diverticulitis injury / disease sickness, that really put the fear in him, like, I may not come back to wrestling. So I feel like he changed his outlook on a lot of things too. Like the Cornette-isms have gone away.
And when somebody goes down like he went down, you get into that other side of the, like, and we're going to talk about Chris Bay in a second as well, but we get into that other side of, like, okay, human to human, it doesn't matter if I don't like you, I'm glad you're not dead.
Exactly.
Like, there's that part of it as well. But on the other side of the coin, you've got Takeshita, who I've enjoyed ever since I saw him go to MLP and do the back-to-back nights there against, I think it was against Speedball and Josh Alexander on respective nights, and he impressed the hell out of me. And even though he's Randy Orton Jr., Kyle Fletcher has stepped up. As I say, we knock AEW for their presentation style, so if you manage to stick out on that brand, you're doing twice as much work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and Fletcher successfully, has named for himself as a heel. I'll give you that.
Yeah, successfully, they've put a match together that I would see if it was on a pay-per-view. Not a random dressed-up episode of Collision that's being pre-taped in the morning that we will know the results of ahead of time, that we don't even know what time it's coming on.
Yeah. See, I like Toni Storm. I have liked Toni Storm for a long time, and I enjoy what she conveys with... Usually, in the ring, she's very good, and usually the stories she's involved with don't fall short. I don't care for how this was booked. I don't hate the timeless character. I just... A lot of this made no sense. Why would you get your ass kicked to then make a reveal? Whatever. But I am interested in that match and that match alone. See, Takeshita, I've almost written off. He's like another Adam Cole for me in a way, where it's like, I really liked you at one point, but I see that AEW is never going to get you right.
Yeah.
So
I respect what you can do, but I'm limiting my expectations of how much of what you can do I'm going to see.
Yes, exactly.
It's funny that you mentioned the ladies match, though, because here's the thing. As much as I resent it, they put the TBS title on Mercedes Moné, who's crap, and because she's carrying it, they treat it like the main title. The only thing in that works in their favor is one more person that is showing up and showing out despite their presentation or lack thereof, and maximizing their minutes and all the other JR-isms. Like, how do you deny the rising star of Harley Cameron?
Yeah, and I know everyone keeps saying that's, she's so talented, but she is so good. She can sing, she can dance, she can play instruments, she can do goddamn marionette puppets. She's good at ventriloquism.
The pre-tape that she did, and this is where I always say it's very important, because you and I, I mean, I dig down a lot, and then you come along with me for the ride. Let's be real for a second. I always say, and I continue to say, and this is the difference between me and you and people that shit on WWE.
Yeah.
If you do not acknowledge the accomplishments of the people that you're against, then your criticisms of them become useless. People are going to get sick of me saying this on this channel, because I've said it a lot, right? Harley Cameron, when she cut her promo this past week on Dynamite, I didn't catch all of it. She was doing a little bit of ventriloquism and a little bit of, other languages, and she can tap dance, she can do all this, but then she, cut it all out and just had that, face-to-face promo to the camera, and did that. She did that one promo that, no other opponent can really respond to, where it's like, yeah, of course you're great. Of course you've done great things other places. Of course you've done great things here. I'm just going to beat you, that's all.
Yeah.
And it was so she does all these crazy, wacky things. She's crazy. And then she cut a heartfelt promo, and it's like, I would really love to believe that you're going to win on Saturday, and you're not.
I would too, and that's the thing. And I know I've never been a fan of Sasha. I was shit on it religiously on other shows, because I felt like she consistently politicked her way to get into those precarious positions, and anytime
more
something
like Paula
happened,
Dick.
Well, that too, and anytime maybe she hung out with Brad and Xavier Woods too. You never know, but got to be careful about making even jokes. You might get fired from Fightful. But I just go ahead and
Cancel
I look at it all.
culture is a thing. Don't let them
it
tell you
is.
Otherwise.
Don't you forget it. I can't help but laugh because it's like it's the same things repeating themselves, and the same people that had issues with creative previously now have creative control written into their contracts. So you wonder why someone like Moxley that fought with Vince constantly, behind the scenes allegedly, and people that were just like very stubborn and bullish and wanted things their way, like
it's one of those,
like a
okay.
Mercedes.
Here's the thing. Wasn't going to get on this tonight, but creative control is one of those things that's bad when other people have it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we're going to get into it anyways. The people that have been finally released from AEW, Guantanamo Bay and all that, right?
Yes.
Aleister Black, Ricky Starks, who we're going to talk about in a second, Miro.
They've been freed, except for Phoenix. Not Phoenix.
I was going to say, the three of them have been freed, and Tony Khan has jingled his keys to make sure you don't pay attention to the fact that he's still fucking with Rey Fenix. Try to prove me wrong in the comment section, guys. What was the big complaint about Aleister Black, right? Oh, Aleister Black never wants to lose a match. Do you know what that is? You know what the biggest tell what that is? The only people complaining that the person in the ring with them doesn't want to lose is other people that also don't want to lose.
Exactly.
So there's that. I mean, the thing about it is, like, the Harley Cameron thing is awesome. The Toni Storm thing, she's a great wrestler that I like. I don't like the Timeless thing. I thought they were getting off of it. I really did. Mariah May stepped up. But there's two tag matches.
It was a joke. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a amnesia thing, and we kind of just laughed it off, and we're like, oh, they won't be that silly, and then it ended up being an act anyways. So, but
if it was put together properly, if it was promoted properly, if it was an actual pay-per-view, this is a show that I might even be excited about because they've fallen ass backwards into some pretty good matches.
I would say between the two of us, I think I would side and or like AEW a bit more than you typically. And I feel like you and I have kind of switched, and I've been more down on the product, especially lately, because I don't want to sound like I'm just being a jump on the bandwagon contrarian. Oh, I don't like this Grand Slam show because it's, no it's not because I watch AEW, as faithfully as I can, and the Dynamites, I'm finding myself just like, oh, I'll get the highlights. I'll go to YouTube and watch their
This is the thing. Like, the more AEW makes these moves that, confuse the fans, piss off the fans, mislead the fans, the more the company fucks around, the more I try to make a point of the people that are still there that I like trying to appreciate what they're trying to do.
Yes.
And I think that's the fair way to look at it, right? If WWE did Saturday Night's Main Event over in the UK and taped it they put a great card together, but they taped it in the morning, and we knew we weren't going to get it until 10 o'clock that night, all the spoilers were out, we would call them on it. Probably more so because we hold them to a higher standard.
Absolutely, but I think people would still tune in and watch. It's the fact
people would tune in and watch, yeah, but there's not very much.
No, there's certainly
unless there's
like sell.
Unless there's like traveling issues or whatever that WWE has done, or around the holidays and whatnot, where they pre-tape a SmackDown or something like that, they don't make a habit of pre-taping content. It's not like what TNA does, what early days NXT used to do.
Exactly.
What you're watching is happening on the night, and even
riddle me this,
my
my sexy friend.
What's up?
I can't help but just I failed to fathom and grasp Tony's comments. He said that initially they never came out and specifically said this is a pay-per-view or a premium show, but they implied heavily. So they didn't say specifically it is, but they implied heavily that it would be a big event, a pay-per-view show caliber and then it kind of, all right, it's going to be like Grand Slam, it'll be on TV still, but it's all right, well now it's not live. All right, well now it's Collision. Then they moved it to a smaller building.
But they did,
and then the people that bought those tickets got shittier seats.
But here's the thing, though, right, as well. Before they moved it out of the stadium, right, and okay, NXT has had to downsize some buildings as well. Let's be careful how we throw our stones, right? I'm trying to be fair here, right? Before that, because everything, and you and I mentioned this before, every Grand Slam before has been Dynamite Grand Slam, Collision Grand Slam, Rampage Grand Slam. You take the weekly show name, the prefix, out of it, and you throw it in a stadium. If they had been able to fill a stadium in Australia, you're not telling me you're trying to fill a stadium for a random episode of Collision. Fuck off with that.
No, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing, too. That's what I was going to say to you. Tony said the issue was logistics. We couldn't get it to air live during the day. Then how did WWE do it with the Chamber?
How's WWE done it with everywhere?
But they said Australia specifically was too difficult because of the time change. No, because you knew from the get-go.
WWE's proved them wrong twice on that.
Exactly, and they knew from the get-go that this was going to be a follow-up to the TNT or TBS, whatever, the NBA basketball, Grand Slam, whatever, contingent for the fantasy all-star team bullshit.
Here's where I'm going to call bullshit, though, right? And we've talked to death about the benefits of WWE being on Netflix now and all that kind of thing, and Max being sort of the diet version of that, right? Yeah. If you want to tout this new relationship that you've got with a streaming service like Max, it's a streaming service. Underline those two words. If you want to say, hey, guys, TV schedules are what they are. If you're going to watch this on TBS or TNT, it's going to be tape delayed. This is what it is. This is what it is. But to our users on Max, if you want to get up early in the morning with us, check this out. You'll be able to get it on your stream.
What was the show we watched? Beast in the East, right?
Yeah. Yep.
With Brock and the New Day. That was,
and it was at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got up for that. I mean, the fans will get up if you want to see something. And that's the thing. I wanted to care about this. So Tuesday nights NXT, they averaged 801,000 viewers.
Oh, you beat me to it.
I know.
And then Dynamite got 579,000. Now, to be fair, NXT was live. Dynamite was pre-taped the night before. So it's not quite an apples to apples comparison. We got to be fair. But it's still going in the way that it's been going when it was live show versus live show.
But here's the point I was going to bring up to you. The 579 number is bad considering it's down from 605 the week before, and it's a bad demo rating. Here's the thing. We do not know the max streaming numbers. That number is rough. That 579 is bad. That's, alert the captain, we're about to go down with this ship kind of bad because the trend is moving downwards rapidly.
Of course it is.
But they're trying to say that, the 300 or 400,000 fans, the sub, close to the million mark that they were getting at one point in time, the people that aren't watching TV are watching on Max. Right. If you think that was the truth, Max would be out there screaming from the rooftops, look at all these fans we got. Yep. NXT has put out, NXT, well, NXT as well, but I keep doing that. Netflix, has put out numbers every week about Raw. Good or bad, they went from 5 million to 3 million. Oh, that's a 2 million difference. Well, it was a new show. People check it out, and then you build up fans along the way. But they put the numbers out. You're
never going to get the curiosity number of the first night.
No, certainly not. But
some people watch it and say, hey, I'm going to run with this, and some people don't.
Some people only watch the pay-per-views or the PLEs.
Fair enough.
But my point is, we don't know the streaming numbers, and if they were good, don't you think they would be touting them?
Exactly.
Netflix had a loss on their ratings week over week with Raw, and they still come out and, hey, here's the top shows of the week. This is where it places. So it's...
It doesn't matter how far they've fallen, they're still on top.
Exactly, and that audience that you've lost have not suddenly rejoined on Max. You can't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. These people are not watching
I had an argument with somebody, obviously good-intentioned, level-headed people on X always.
Oh, everywhere.
Right? And my response was simply, especially after the news of this week, how can you say Dynamite is better than NXT? How can you say that AEW is better than WWE when the fans and the wrestlers would rather be in WWE?
I know, and you even showed me, a post that somebody put out talking about TNA dying now, and they're finally destroyed. And
except for every single one of their numbers has been better since they've been working with WWE.
Well, that's the thing.
And Scott D'Amore said how shitty it was working with AEW.
But that's explicitly the thing there. That you just nailed it. That's the sentiment of the wrestling business right now. People in the indies, if they can't go to WWE, then sure, they'll settle for AEW. But you don't hear people online saying, I want a main event Grand Slam. No, they want a main event WrestleMania. And the thing
is, though, people that are in the indies, shout out to everybody on the indies, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think at this point you're not going to have that anymore. I think people, if they can't get their foot in the door in WWE, are going to be looking TNA's way because TNA's already kicked that door open for them. You know what I mean?
But TNA has gained eyes, has gained viewership, has gained new wrestlers and talent being shared.
But I think because they're side by side with WWE now, they become the
elevated.
Default. No, they become the default number 2 choice. If you
that's what I'm saying. They get elevated because of being involved with number 1. It's if you're dating the prom king, well, you're going to be the prom queen kind of idea.
Yeah, for sure.
I see that being relevant. And like you said, multiple reps have outlined in great detail while WWE working with TNA is a huge success on every metric possible. Yep. But when they worked with Impact and AEW, what did they do? They didn't go over there. They took their title and brought it to AEW.
They took their title and used it basically, and I'm trying to say this as respectfully as possible because, as I say, I've turned around on Kenny Omega, whatever, but he was doing the whole belt collector thing. They took their title and made it one more title on his shoulder when he was wearing it like sideways around himself. And
he was the whatnot. Now current Mercedes wearing 4 belts, so they all lose purpose.
Oh, come on, Kenny's not that bad.
No, certainly not.
Anyways, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. And there are people that are willing to work even smaller audiences if it means hooking up with WWE. Enter in Ricky Starks.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
This is what I was going to quickly get to before, because a lot of times in wrestling, things are heavily implied but not stated. We knew CM Punk was coming back the night at Rampage. We knew things like that. We knew Penta was going to debut. Oh, go get me the best luchador. Like Michael Cole said, the worst kept secret in all of wrestling.
Yep.
And they're doing that a lot lately. So we knew Starks was coming, but we didn't know specifically when. We knew it was going to happen.
It's such a statement, though. And I'm not even saying this as a dig necessarily, right? But we heard the story constantly. Even if I like What Culture, but they lean heavily towards AEW. Let's be real for a second. When the story for over a year has been Ricky Starks just wants to leave. Why won't they just let him leave?
Yeah,
Ricky
he's
Starks
asked nicely.
Ricky Starks is not being used on television. He's not medically in any kind of situation where he shouldn't be wrestling. He's not being allowed to wrestle anywhere else. When are they just going to say enough is enough and let him go? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this?
Yep, they got to punish him, right?
It's okay, because there's two sides to this as well. It's funny that the day the news of his release comes up, less than 24 hours later, he shows up on NXT, right?
Yes.
But him along with Black and Miro, they're going to be sort of clumped together in this conversation. Is it one last act of pettiness by Tony Khan that he does it the day after the Royal Rumble?
It kind of feels like it in a way.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I know, because he had no reason to terminate and discontinue whatever, call it done for their contracts this past Monday. Yeah. So to have it specifically be after the Rumble, because he knew Malachi Black or Miro, maybe one of the two of them, even if they had Starks earmarked for NXT and he didn't, he still could have been in the Rumble and gone to NXT.
Yep, because NXT, I don't think we're at a point now where NXT had some cameos in the Rumble. No, NXT just participates as much as Raw and SmackDown does.
Exactly.
Which I think is an awesome place to be, right? But maybe the problem is going to be, out of the three of them, you say Ricky Starks, and I think immediately NXT. You say Aleister Black, I don't know why, but I think immediately his return happens on SmackDown. Couldn't tell you why. You say Miro, I don't know where I would put Miro or what I would do with Miro in WWE. And that's not anything against him, it's just I can't place him unless you want to put him in there with the big guys like Otis and Ivar and Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman and
how do you feel that they let Miro go on Rusev Day? I mean, I would be upset. It's like I wouldn't know
Fantastic.
How to handle it.
Well, he's not going to have Aiden English to do his Rusev Day thing because Matthew Raywald's over in TNA. Actually, I guess that's not technically true.
I was just going to say,
but should say Josh Matthews and Christy Hemme have apparently just recently left TNA, so our best wishes are with them. But
I would want to see that introduction every week. But if they did bring him over from Impact to just be like the night Miro's going to debut, and all of a sudden he walks out holding the mic and Rusev, come on, that would be. I
wouldn't honestly.
Bring him back.
And this is where it's because it's seen as less and less and less of a step down these days. I wouldn't mind Miro doing a run in TNA. Or Rusev or whatever he wants to go by. I think that could be a lot of fun because you got the big guys down there like Jake something and Hammerstone and big meaty men slapping man meat. Have Big E come down and do commentary on it or something.
You can see with the management too. They in WWE it's evidently obvious. No, we're not there, but you can see how drastically things have changed just by sending the Legends Christmas cards this year, even though they're being unsigned.
Demolition finally has their Legends contract.
Yes. that's amazing for them. And a lot of these legends, they're saying like, oh, they're not just bringing us out on, WrestleMania weekend once every couple of years to wave. They're having us be involved with the students. They're having us go to the community events. They're having us at the live shows. Like, they're making the legends matter. These are the guys you used to cheer, helping the guys you want to cheer. Like,
but they're also not using them in a sense of, oh, we're having an anniversary show, come out and wave and make our show better. They're like, no, come on out for a second and let us appreciate you.
Exactly, and that's the difference. So I see it quite often in WWE now with the management changing, and if they had Starks earmarked for NXT, that's all well and good, but they had enough faith in him as a person to not give him a name, to not give him music, nothing, no grand gesture. He literally emerged through the crowd with a microphone in hand.
I was going to say, because you and I don't always watch NXT in sync, and I try not to do the spoiler thing.
Yeah,
no offense to other people. But straight up, like, they're in the middle of running down the card for Sunday, and it gets cut off by somebody saying, this just feels right. And then he cuts that, 5-10 second promo.
And the crowd.
What are you thinking immediately?
Nuts! Oh, right away, I was just taken back. I was like, "Hot damn, this is perfect. This feels right." And then he goes into it about the Revolution being televised, and he's just
absolute. And he does the what do you call the? It almost looks like he's about to do like a Booker T thing, but where he
the
looks
head
at his
gesture.
hand.
I love it.
I don't know what it's called. Somebody mentioned it a couple of days ago, and I don't remember it for the life of me. I think it's good because, also, I like Ricky Starks. I like that he's not being fucked with anymore. I like that he happened to come over to our side of things, but, let him leave AEW and go to the Indies, even.
I really enjoyed Starks on the Indies. I really enjoyed Starks being on NWA for a while.
Yep.
And then when they got him in AEW, I was super excited. And then they put him with Team Taz, and I'm like, all right, he's going to be a heel. He's got to kind of learn the ropes. He's still young. And then they just...
They did the thing with him and Big Bill, and he said, no, I don't want to do a typical, tag team split-up thing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing as well, is it's a conversation we've had before about NXT. Oh, my God, why do they need training? Why would they go to NXT? Because maybe they can help other people, right? Broader statement, what did we say at the end of last year? Women's division in NXT is kicking ass right now. The men's division's kind of treading water. That could be okay. You can have a female-led show.
I doubt that Aleister Black, Malachi Black, whoever is coming in
to
NXT, but I would love it for a brief period of time if he did. If he came back and they brought him on NXT for a little bit, I think that would be surreal, especially the way they've been bringing people back recently since Vince has been gone. We saw Becky, we saw Charlotte, we've seen Natalya come back, we've seen Bayley recently. It's like, I'm naming all females, but we've seen some of the men come back down too. We saw Baron Corbin, so... Yep. We've seen...
You know what I've said, honestly, for Aleister Black?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would want it right away, but we know WWE just got rid of Paul Ellering, AOP, and all that kind of thing. Eventually, if we had a feud that then turned into a partnership, kind of like a Sheamus Cesaro type thing, but like a goth version of that. If you had Aleister Black and Karrion Kross as a tag team managed by Scarlett.
Yeah. Could be great. Could be
fantastic.
Could
Why
be
is my phone beeping at me?
And here's the thing. Now, I want to touch back on AOP quick before we get into anything else. But first, Aleister Black has been hinted at many times too, because you have, and it could be nothing, but I'm sorry, with the Michael Cole, could it be type of scenario? My God, it is. It seems so obvious. So Black and Zelina Vega, they own a gym, a pro wrestling school in Muay Thai gym.
Yeah.
And Chad Gable said that he's going to
that's the other thing I meant to mention as well. On the practical level, they just moved Zelina Vega to SmackDown.
They moved her to SmackDown. They went ahead and they changed things up a little bit. Chad's going to SmackDown. He's going to look for the dark arts of Lucha Libre, all that stuff. What's their wrestling school called?
I don't know.
The Dark Arts.
Oh.
I mean, Chad Gable keeps saying, I'm going to go master the dark arts of Lucha Libre, and he's going to the school called the Dark Arts, earned by that's got to be it, because everything Triple H has done has been overtly obvious. It's like a wink and a nod.
Sorry.
Get it.
This is the first time. This is the first time this has ever happened on a podcast. I have to cut in with a promo of my own.
Ooh.
You guys have all heard me say Destiny Wrestling. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. they have their Icons show, which is basically like their big, like, once-a-year show. It's Icons 4.
Their Mania, yeah.
Their first two talents announced for the show are TJP and Baron Corbin.
Oh, shit. That's going to be
not fighting
massive.
Each other, and TJP looks goth as shit in this picture. But yeah, shout out to Destiny. April 6th, if you're in the GTA and you haven't checked out Destiny before, you should do it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And
anyways,
this is the third one, right? Yeah.
4.
4. Okay, 4.
4. Back to our regularly scheduled program. Ricky Starks, NXT is going to be awesome. I'm picturing Aleister Black as early as Friday.
Yeah, having the dark arts of Lucha Libre, like, that's really cool heading in there. But what I like is that, all right, what do we see here? What do we get? A lot of people that have returned also still have their name. They still have the character that they left WWE with, and, you know, instead of, all right, we had Drew Galloway comes back, he's Drew McIntyre, but still, it was the version of him that changed. And we've gotten Shawn Spears even more recently, and amongst a few others. Yep. So I wonder if he's going to come in as Malachi Black. I wonder if it's going to be Miro instead of Rusev, and there's something to be said for that.
I don't think so with Aleister, and I can't put my finger on why, but it's not like a Cody Rhodes situation where Cody Rhodes is Cody Rhodes no matter where he
no matter what
went. Shawn Spears coming back as Shawn Spears instead of Ty Dillinger, I think they just kind of slip it under the rug because it's NXT. I don't think they debut a quote-unquote AEW character on one of the big 2 shows.
Yeah,
I could be totally wrong, but it's fine. But also, Aleister Black has more of a history with NXT and on the main roster before he got let go than Ty Dillinger did, because Ty Dillinger was the guy with the weird jacket and the 10 sign.
Yes.
Aleister Black had a little bit more. I mean, stuff that was good and stuff that Vince kind of mucked around with a little too much. I think they could call back to that a little bit more. But yeah, at some point, like you've gone with the Chad Gable thing. I don't see it. I think with them leaning on the Lucha stuff, they got Dragon Lee in there now. They've got Penta there now. They've got Ray. Axiom is a different kind of luchador. I think they were trying to do something with, what was it, like AAA or CMLL or some kind of other crossover. I think it's going to be another luchador that's going to come in. I don't see that being Aleister Black. If I'm wrong, I'll put my hands up and be wrong. Obviously.
Yeah, no doubt. But it's just an interesting thing to see how
I just think
times have changed.
Him and Karrion Kross is the definite, like, Aleister Black comes back, he's not necessarily the Undertaker character, because you can't be the other Undertaker. That conversation kind of has to go in the bin a little bit.
Yes.
But he can be like that guy, like that goth, rock, alternative, whatever you want to call it, guy coming back, and this is what I am, and Karrion Kross is like, yeah, well, we already got one of those. Hi.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm a little...
a natural clash. But like a clash that, you know, when we talk about like really big guys.
It's a cult of personality, my friend. It really, yeah.
But you know when like you get 2 really big guys. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Like, say Braun Strowman in the Big Show, right? And they can beat each other up in a way that you can tell both of them are having fun doing it. I could see a version of that with these two. And it's like, if we're this good beating the shit out of each other, look what we could do to everybody else. And then they look around to, like, I don't know, Los Garzas and DIY, and like we could kill them. It's fine. We've got a hot manager. It's fine.
Yeah,
I think it would be good. I don't think they're going to do it. I just think it's.
I don't think so either. But that would be fun. I would be excited for that. And here's the thing. So I mentioned before, I wanted to briefly touch back on AOP. They returned. They did nothing. Sadly, and now they disappeared. Final Testament is not a bad idea, but I never took to the members. Like, I didn't understand the AOP connection. Like, hey, you need some muscle, sure, but he doesn't need a group, especially not at this point. I had an inkling that AOP was going to be taken off, because every time they've had Cross on our screens, it's with the group. It's with Final Testament. And then the past few weeks before them being let go, it's just Cross talking to Sami Zayn. It's one-on-one. And typically before, even when it was just a one-on-one character conversation, like with The Miz or something, they still had all of Final Testament there.
I was going to say, like, he's good when he has one person to bounce off of, and The Miz was the least likely example of that to actually work.
And it was great.
So if you instead, like, think of it as, oh, I'm an evil guy. What do I do for fun? I beat the shit out of people. Can you imagine the two of them sitting in the back in Alistair's, like, pick a fight with me room, and just the two of them going through the roster saying, who do we want to pick a fight with? Like, you could play around a lot with that. I really could.
I really feel like AOP was earmarked to be gone a while ago, and they just kind of waited. And
well, they were brought in to be like the big guy team, right? I hate to use an obvious comparison, but they were brought in to be like an LOD type of, where everybody else is smaller and more athletic and high flying and all that, and you got these two big bruisers that are going to swat you out of the air. Well, that's fine, but we've got the Creeds, we've got the Viking Raiders, we've got the rumored team eventually of Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu. So you need to be that and more if you want a spot on the roster.
Exactly. And so now I really feel like with Karrion Kross not having the group, but you've seen them recently paying attention to him, I think he's going to be a big focal point coming up. I think Triple H has plans with him, and we're finally going to see more. Like, he's starting to really, like, he's there to help you, unless you're not, that kind of thing. And it's like,
I'm here to help you if helping you helps me.
And before we get into Vintage Day,
doesn't that lend to them being an awesome tag team of, like,
exactly,
if both of them come to the same mentality of I'll help you if it helps me, does that not scream tag team titles?
Absolutely, and that's the thing where you could get so much out of, and it's not the creepy spooky guys work. No, there's more to it, and that's
they're just kick-ass guys that have maybe decent music for once. I don't know who owns the House of Black music, but clearly they're not using it anymore in AEW. So
no.
Jordan Grace brought her music over to WWE because she owns it.
That was no, what was it? Menra Ugentrust?
You're gonna summon somebody.
Yeah, I believe the name of the band is Amenra, Amenra, and they're
no
Norwegian death metal band.
Okay, cool.
So the name of the song is Ogentrust that he uses. Yeah. It's like a 9 or 8 minutes, 10-minute song. It's a great goddamn. I really love the whole like long version of it. But the whole point of the song is that it's like about a medication that you use. The name of the song to treat like an eye issue or whatever. So
and then they did all the eye stuff.
And it went along. He was very intentional in what he picked.
Total tangent for a second. I'm sorry. Out of everybody in AEW and WWE, do you know who I think has probably the best entrance right now?
Yeah.
Julia Hart.
Ooh. I didn't pick that in my mind at all whatsoever.
Because you know how like all the members of the House of Black kind of have variations of music?
Yes.
Her music, when it's just her and she basically I hate to say it once again, but she comes out like Chick Undertaker, and she's got that really like heavy melodic whatever it is.
Yes.
Her entrance is awesome, and she's managing to pull that off in AEW. Imagine if they bring her over. And Alistair calls her up and says, hey, come on over, the water's fine.
Yeah, the fans liked the spooky bitch. They chanted, and then it worked for her.
Oh my God, Julia Hart versus Alexa Bliss.
There's so many good moments there. And think about it too. Like we said, with Starks coming in, no music, no name. They didn't even. It was just, oh my God, he's here, kind of an idea.
Is it me, right? Because they'll fast track Ricky Starks into the title picture soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is it me? But immediately when he showed up on NXT, the first match I had in mind was him and Wesley.
Me too. God damn. I really thought that those two were that's a showcase match to show what Starks can do, and especially with Wes being a heel right now, and the way he's been working in the ring, and you got the follow to the outside. Oh, there's so much you can add to that. I like back in the day, Vince he would take chances. Obviously, that's what I'm saying, but he wouldn't do things that were gonna possibly fuck him. He wouldn't put somebody on TV without having an ironclad contract and without having, everything in writing and deals because he got tired of getting screwed. As where this is apparently just a sync agreement. So according to PW Insider Elite, they're saying that Ricky Starks is fast-tracked to have his name be Ricky Starks. So apparently, according to internal memos, he's still listed under the name Ricky Starks, besides the company not referring to him at his debut.
Except, I don't know whether it was a botch or not, but somebody put these up side by side.
Yes.
NXT, for me, obviously Netflix, because I don't live in the States, right? Yes. NXT in the States, for you guys, is still on the CW, right?
Yes.
2 separate video clips went out of his debut on NXT. One was on the WWE YouTube channel, and I think it was something vague. It was like, oh my god, the blockbuster debut that you missed on NXT, right?
Yes.
On the CW's YouTube channel, it says Ricky Starks makes his debut in NXT.
See, so that even hammers it home more. So I really tend to think that, yeah, because the WWE one I saw initially that next morning, and it was like, this star makes their debut, like, It didn't even use a name. So that was the point I was going to make. So that's awesome that the CW named him. So that really backs up to what Fightful and PW Insider are saying.
I would think it was funny as well because
a scheduled independent appearance as this Saturday's obviously Vengeance Day. So
and he had to book out, but he just became the Defy. And I'm not going to say this like I know anything about Defy. He just became the Defy champion, beating Kenta for that belt. So he is technically walking around with another belt right now in WWE, which that in and of itself would have been like
a deal breaker.
No, it would have been unheard of. The only other one I can think of wasn't not Gallows, the other one. Carl Anderson. Wasn't he Anderson. Like the never something, sometimes always champion or whatever?
The never strong openweight title there.
Okay. But it's just like, are they gonna send a WWE TV crew to the next Defy show and say, hey, look, our latest signing, Ricky Starks, defending his other title, good for him. Like,
yeah, because there's been a few signings where people were champions of other things and they've been held off or made to either vacate or clear before being able to compete. So for him having that title,
thing, right?
Shows a change in booking for sure.
Because they have the WWE ID program, right? Yes. And it's for indie wrestlers in other companies, and we're going to follow you. We're going to give you some media presence and whatever. We're going to give people a way to follow you on socials or on videos and clips and whatever. With that same mentality, would you not then send people with your already existing wrestlers when they go do something else? Like when Briggs, that we're going to talk about later on, when he was over in Noah for a while and he first teamed up with Inamura, like, do a 10-second clip on, like, hey, our guy Briggs, we're really proud of him. He's making us look great over here in Noah. When they let Nakamura have the Muda match, when they sent AJ Styles over there for a little bit, we've talked at length about the WWE and TNA stars that have done stuff at Bloodsport and whatever. Would it behoove them to show a little bit more of that, like, hey, we know our guys are awesome, and look at all this other awesome shit that they're also doing? Like, throw it in there like you would any other recap of, hey, this is what happened last week on Raw.
That would be, like this week on the Indies and people that are doing
they're doing it for the people that people haven't heard of yet, which is awesome. That should be the number one priority. But apply that same outside hype to the people that you already have on your books that are out there making you look great.
Here's a shock ask for you on the pod. I didn't know if we were going to cover the first Evolve episode. I think we should, though, because WWE Evolve... It's going to be on Tubi, March 5th, 8 p.m. Eastern, and they just announced WWE is going to have a new championship, too, in the company.
Well, it's going to be the NXT Evolve Championship.
It is. They're going to have the Evolve Championship. So WWE has plans to introduce a new championship ahead of the launch of the new in-ring show. So this show is basically going to take the place of NXT Level Up, since that was scrapped at the beginning of the year.
I think it's going to take the place of NXT, and NXT is going to be finally seen as more of like the middle of the ground show.
Well, yes, but I'm saying like in
programming-wise.
Programming-wise, it's going to take the place of... But yes, no, I totally understand what you're saying, because NXT is, as you saw, we got Vengeance Day coming up.
Because there's no level up. There wasn't any level up championship.
No. So PW Insider also reports that the Evolve Championship has already been made. It's going to be introduced over the course of the tapings, which will be shown March 5th.
Okay, so they're not just crowning a champion on the first night. That would be rough.
They're going to unveil it, and then they said the next generation of professional wrestling will unfold through a brand new series of Evolve on Tubi.
I'm not going to lie, I never watched Evolve properly when it was a show, other than the one show that they put on the WWE network, because it had Shotzi on it, and I'm really biased towards Shotzi. I like the WWE Evolve logo. It's a little bit more fun, a little less serious, and WWE could use a little bit of that.
No doubt about it. So.
So let's keep the good news going. Seeing as you're dropping bombs, I'll drop the bomb that we saw the other night on NXT. NXT is, where people go to eventually become mainstream WWE superstars, and WWE superstars go on to perform at mecca buildings, mecca facilities, like Madison Square Garden. So NXT, and here we go. NXT is going to Madison Square Garden. ... Kinda.
So they're going
to the theater at Madison Square Garden
for Roadblock,
which is a weekly episode, a weekly elevated episode of NXT. But they're also in the next 2 weeks going to Cincinnati, I think.
Yes, I still look back at that Roadblock show too with Triple H versus Dean Ambrose.
I was there.
That happened before WrestleMania because you got to see it.
It was supposed to be a house show.
Yeah,
and then they turned it into a pay-per-view, and they just, for people that don't know, the first Roadblock was initially advertised to us as a house show. We paid house show prices for it. It was at, now it's called the Coca-Cola Coliseum, but it used to be called the Rico, or the Rico Coliseum. We paid house show prices. We had a house show size crowd. They left it in that building.
Which was incredible.
And it was so awesome because at a house show, there's not very much production. It's a house show. You know what you're in for. So it was kind of cool for me back then because it was initially advertised as a house show. You don't go in with very much expectations. You go to a house show, it's like, here's some wrestling.
Yeah,
basically.
Because originally it was just March to WrestleMania. That was it. It wasn't
Roadblock. It was Road to WrestleMania. It was advertised as a house show, and then the ticket sales did really good, and thus they tried to squeeze it in as a little extra pay-per-view. So it was a convergence of the much more intimate building and the full-scale WWE type of production that you wouldn't expect at a house show. It was this weird happy medium. It kind of felt like it lived on its own island. Like it lived on a shelf a little bit.
You had Lesnar squashing the Wyatt family in 4 minutes. Charlotte and
all of us got sucked into the fact that Dean Ambrose might beat Triple H. Like, all of us, I remember being in that crowd and being like, okay, so Triple H is going to squash Dean Ambrose on the way to WrestleMania. And everybody got caught up at least once.
Oh, yeah,
which is all
foot under the rope line.
Which is all you need, right?
Ruling in forever. I still remember that. Oh, his foot's under the rope. And we hadn't seen them do that for years. Your foot always had to be on the rope, not so much under, They kind of got away from that ruling. And
I do like that, though, because if you are past the rope, what's the terminology they use? That you've broken the field? Like, the rope is only there to indicate where the border is. And if you hop up... Okay, I'm not going to get into border conversation. But if you're over the border of what is considered the ring, then it shouldn't matter if you're touching the rope or not. That does make sense in a certain amount of life. But, yeah, they're going to be at Madison Square Garden Theater for Roadblock, which is a lot of fun. So the out of the PC episodes are getting closer and closer and closer together. Because, like I say, we're doing Vengeance Day, which is a proper pay-per-view, and then we're doing the Cincinnati show, and then we're doing Roadblock, which is an elevated weekly episode.
And so, then...
I'm saying, once Evolve takes off, man, they're going to take...
deliver.
Oi, oi, oi.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, but that's not until April. That's a bigger
Yes,
that's
but
a
you're
bigger
saying
gap.
They're just falling through. But that's not even a huge gap because it used to be so much more, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
So them adding things, I don't want to see them, every week they're here. But it seems like they're building up to be like, hey, guys, you're going to be on the road a lot. And eventually
you don't want it
NXT
to turn into Winter is Coming?
Yeah,
Giggity.
and NXT is going to go ahead, or Grand Slam at this point. They're going to go ahead and turn it into a true Roadblock, and it's going to stop everybody else's progress as they go ahead and beat the shit out of each other. But no, honestly, I'm genuinely excited for this.
Okay, so here if we're lining it up with the main roster, so as far as the build goes, like if we're talking about Road to WrestleMania, then we're talking about Road to Stand and Deliver. So Vengeance Day is the Royal Rumble. So Roadblock is the Elimination Chamber?
I think so, yeah.
Because there's nothing else in between other than just an episode that happens to be in Cincinnati. But I'm saying, once Evolve takes off, and Evolve is obviously being filmed in the Performance Center, sooner than later, I would say probably like post-WrestleMania, I think NXT becomes a weekly touring brand.
Yes.
I
haven't heard anything. That's what I'm saying. I think they're going to be out of the Performance Center soon enough, and they're going to be just full-fledged touring week to week, and it's gonna the Performance Center is gonna be a thing of the past. That's what makes me think they're gonna be involved with more than just
Well, I don't think it's going to be a thing in the past. I think it's going to be the home of Evolve now, which is absolutely fine.
That's what I'm saying for NXT. It's no
now keep in mind
if you go
back in your NXT history as well, TNA is about to do a set of tapings at Full Sail of all things.
Right. So
that'll be fun. That'll be fun as well, and they're doing more live shows than taped shows, which is also awesome.
One other thing we wanted to bring up initially, sure. I derailed you entirely. We're supposed to do only NXT, but we went ahead and did start to mention today is Chris Bay's birthday.
And he got up and stood up and walked around a bit. And
not just walked up a little bit, he walked out of the recovery center. So he's officially home as of today. He's been 6 days a week since the injury. He's been in physical therapy and at least 3 hours every day learning how to use his hands and walk again.
Yep.
He made a joke to Matt Hardy when they were stretchering him out of the building. Yeah. He says, "Hey, Jeff, remember when you did the swanton to Randy and you had to hold your arm up on the way out?" He's like, "I wish I could do that." Like trying to be funny because he was paralyzed and couldn't lift his arms.
Yeah.
So the guy just then found out I can't move my limbs, but he's still trying to make everybody else feel comfortable and tell a joke.
Oh, yeah. Because the other people in the ring with you are probably, like, feeling as low as they possibly could in a moment.
Absolutely.
Because they both said it, like, they both grew up watching the Hardys. So, like, there's the moment that should be, like, a highlight of your career, and, you might be paralyzed. Like, I'm not trying to reduce
and
that.
And he was, though. He was paralyzed. Yeah. I mean, he couldn't move then.
I meant like permanently.
Yeah. No, I get your point, but doctors only gave him a 10 to 15% or 25% chance of walking again. Never mind. And he's made amazing recovery.
And what did he say?
Him walking not only made my day, it made me truly emotional. Like I have my neck fused in some of the spots that he does too. So the story he put up on Twitter is very long. It would take the rest of the podcast.
It's really detailed. The only thing I will say about I mean, I'll say it with like friends and family as well as like wrestlers that we follow and engage with and whatnot. What I want to know is like, are they okay? Are they not okay? Are they moving? Are they getting on with life? Are they maybe coming back to what they love? Whatever. I don't need to know necessarily, what exactly happened and whose fault was it, and so could have done such and such differently, and what we had to reattach was like this 7 and this 9 and like all the grisly details. I think wrestling fans have gotten way too used to having that information. Like, is he getting better? How's he doing? Is he getting worse? How's he doing? Yeah. That's about the extent of it. And you know what? If they don't even want to share that, like, fuck all of us. Exactly.
And the fact that he went ahead and put that out and let us know. Says
it's going to be the greatest story ever told.
Absolutely. And the only thing that rivaled it up until that point was Sheamus putting out a photo with him and Miro together sharing beers. So, like, that was the highlight until I saw the Chris Bay thing. I was oh shit, Rusev and Sheamus back together, the
League of Nations.
Yeah, the League of Nations. And,
all right.
Damn, so great to hear that for him. He said he couldn't even type, to respond to anybody.
He said I couldn't use my hands, so. That's why I haven't been on social media. It's like, who's being a dick and, like, bugging him as to why he's not on social media?
Like, yeah, how dare you not respond to us while you're busy not being able to move your limbs.
All right. So, but love to see it.
On the good news train, we had a great episode of NXT. We had a great debut. We got great news from Chris Bay on his birthday. You and I are here. Everything's great. Tony Khan loves the word great. So do we. It's great.
Speaking of this week's episode of NXT, before we get into Saturday, and everybody listening right now is going to get sick of me saying before we talk about Saturday, but there's a lot to talk about specifically in NXT. The twist at the end of the show with the family, where Ridge kind of like was in the main event with Tony and then wasn't the story anymore because Izzy turned on the family, brought in Shawn Spears and his whole team, and they were the good version of the Death Riders.
Yeah,
like in the cage, smashing the fingers in the walls of the cage so that nobody else could come in and make the save or anything like that. Izzy Dame hit, of all things, a gigantic chokeslam on Adriana Rizzo. The Dawn got taken out. Obviously, Shawn Spears is going to go for that title.
Yeah,
I think
he's taken it.
Secretly in the background, he's put together a good little group for him there. I mean, Brooks Jensen looks like Jungle Boy would look like if he was an adult. But no, seriously, the second rope Death Valley driver on the chair while nobody was able to make the save, obviously because of the cage match, and Izzy Dame was the one that suggested the cage match and sort of set all the wheels in motion. I think it's pretty cool. I think there's always the talk of, like, can you call up the family to the main roster? Will that gimmick work on the main roster? I think that's a legitimate question, because I don't think it would work very well on the main roster. But if you have one more big faction feud before the family goes up as a unit, this is not a bad one to have, because Sean Spears has put this whole group together in sort of the background while other more headline-worthy stuff was happening, and then he's just kind of had this, hey, fuckers, don't forget about me moment.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just, I'm very happy with how things have progressed with NXT. So there was a point in time, as we know, the 2.0 rebrand was not great, and I really, so what happened was it felt like we went and suffered through a pretty less than stellar time with the main roster. We had a face Roman Reigns and all these things that we didn't want to get behind, that we were forced into. They defied fans in every way possible, and NXT was like the golden goose for us. We kept getting all the golden eggs, and everything was and then it kind of switched where the main roster got better, and the Bloodline story was like one of the main focal points, and NXT kind of took a back seat for a little bit. And now it feels like everything is thriving, everything is building. Like, I don't want to shit on AEW, but I used to even when I wasn't on the shows and doing reviews and all that, it's still if I didn't catch it Wednesday night, I was watching it Thursday morning. I don't have that feeling now, and it upsets me because I don't want to be that way. There are people there that I like, but there are hardly, I used to say, if I could take anybody, it would be Sammy Guevara. Oh, I would take him. And then I was like, I'd take Will Ospreay. Now, anybody I would take, it would be Buddy Matthews, however you want to, I want him back. I would kill to see him actually get that true title run that IC and US, something along those lines, and
I would
work his way
honestly,
up.
if you're gonna say Buddy Matthews, right? Because it used to be Buddy Murphy and it was Blake and Murphy in the early days of NXT, and I've said it before, I never appreciated them as a tag team when they first came in. I go back, I did the retro reviews and all that, and I'm like, why was I not into these guys before? But if you get Buddy Matthews back to do a proper singles NXT run in this version of NXT, you got a star. You got a star right there. And I think you see him come back and do NXT way more likely than you see Aleister Black, Malachi Black come back for that. But Sam, you hit it on the head, because he's being hidden off television on AEW. Sammy Guevara would kill it in NXT.
Absolutely. He's one that I would really love to see. And kind of funny that we're talking about the retrospective of things and going back, but I look here, and Fightful, funny enough, today posted an article about all of the numbers for NXT's viewership since they went on live TV in 2019.
Yep.
So they have that very first episode then, September 25th, 18th, the first hour on USA Network for those 2 nights, remember? And then they did the second hour on the network or whatever. It was weird.
Oh, it was that weird transitional period.
Yeah. So then they had, the first 2-hour show, they got 891,000 viewers, and we're essentially back there now. We're in that range. They're at 801, so we're not far off. But you can actually see how things in the 2.0 era were down to 587, 534, 522.
But you know what the crazy thing is, though? You know what the crazy thing is, though? And I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. But everybody shits on the 2.0 era because it was not great creatively. But think about the 2 biggest names we got out of that era that are both thriving in WWE right now, and it's Braun Breaker and Tiffany Stratton.
Oh, absolutely. And
so, how the fuck did that happen?
Because there was still great talent there, because they still scouted in the talent before.
Vaughn Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly were a tag team for a bit. They were biking all over the place.
Yeah, but the point is if you go through the ratings and you can actually see the numbers start up high, go down, and then they went back up. And now we see this progression of things and how it's improved.
And the dip is basically where Vince took over for a bit.
Essentially, yeah. So now, since the move to the CW network, on USA in September, they had 620,000 viewers were their average for September. Now they're at 895. It's 801, 812, 827, 798. They're doing very well.
No, it's going up. It's going up to the numbers that Dynamite used to have when Dynamite were killing them and they were getting like 600s.
As much
Dynamite's
as we
got
said
500.
Exactly. As much as we said it, like WWE was doing bad, so AEW was the alternative to. But now WWE is doing so well. There's things I want to see. I'm not getting that from AEW, and I really don't know what they could offer me at this point that would give me, like, I can't think of, like, sure, there's a few dream matches, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to see these two, but there's nothing that's like, oh, I have to. But with AEW being like that, NXT, I could give you 10 matches right now that I want, that would be fucking incredible, you know.
But here's the problem with AEW right now, though, is you used to have a conversation about, like, oh, what could they do to make it even better? Like, take a free agent, as we know it to be right now, Josh Alexander, right?
Yes.
I'm just using him as an example because he's one I'm familiar with, right?
Yeah, because his contract ends tomorrow, the 14th, with TNA.
Yeah, I think it's technically, like, his last match has already been taped. It's playing tonight right now as we're speaking, but his last match has already been done. His contract with them is done. He's a free agent. He could go either way, right?
Yeah,
now, you could have the conversation of, like, oh, what would really bolster AEW if they got their hands on a talent like Josh Alexander? But me, as a fan of Josh Alexander, I'm thinking, like, for his own sake, I don't want him to go to AEW.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, so the things that could help AEW now are the things that we don't want to happen because those same stars could be treated so much better somewhere else.
Yeah, because for a long time, the one that I really wanted was Malachi Blackback. I have liked him for so long, and I saw what should have been his character in both WWE and AEW. So now people say, oh, is it him? Is it? But I feel like he got twice failed, because on NXT he was incredible all the way up to winning the title and then back down, and then he debuted on the main roster.
On his NXT run, his booking said, this is a guy that Triple H likes.
Yes.
Let's be real. Like, there was him,
you're right,
there was
though.
Gargano, there was, I don't know, people like Tegan Nox who have come and gone again. Dakota Kai was one that got let go, but she was clearly very liked by Triple H in that regime, and she came back, did the whole damage control thing. But to switch gears just a little bit, we got 4 more people coming up to NXT that we don't even technically know who they are.
No,
the glitch at the end of thing.
I tweeted it out, with a little clip of our YouTube stream, because we'll be live this Saturday.
You're doing better advertising than I am.
Veterans Day, that's right. We'll be live at my YouTube channel, Jake DeMarco. You can go to youtube.com/Jake DeMarco now, and that'll bring you right there, or /countdown ended. Either or, you come right to the page. Make sure you hit subscribe, and we'll be live this Saturday after.
And we'll be plugging it all over Twitter as the show's going on, anyways.
Absolutely, and of course they better be subscribed here if they're listening to us.
Oh, of course.
That
you know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here.
Damn straight. I really liked the subtle tease that they've been giving us now. I mean, really, that's it. So the first time we saw the little end, colors come up on the bar, and then it's Avengers Day.
The old test pattern thing, yeah.
Yep. So the test pattern goes. Then we saw a little bit more. Now this week we see 4 silhouettes, and it's like, oh, some people have kind of figured out, oh, that's this person. I don't want to know yet. Like, I don't want to. I want their story to play out. So I'm not.
The rumor I've heard is it's people from Level Up. Which is a minor disappointment, because in the way that NXT has been making headlines right now, it could be a couple people coming over from TNA to invade, even though we don't really want an invasion story. It could be somebody else that we stole from AEW.
Yeah.
It's just some call-ups, which should be awesome, but our standard for what the surprises are has risen because NXT, WWE are on such a roll right now. So I don't want to be disappointed. I want to think it's going to be a cool thing, but if it's not as cool as I've hyped it up in my mind, it's stupid example. The Terminator movies, right? The big flaw of the Terminator movies is they always hyped up Judgment Day. They always had somebody coming back in time to tell you how absolutely horrible, like, world-ending that Judgment Day was. They hype it up so much that if they had ever actually tried to just make a movie about Judgment Day itself happening, it would never match up to what all the characters told you about Judgment Day in the previous movies, which was, I think, one of the flaws of that series before they just went woke and stupid and killed the whole series anyway. Let's just kill the main character. It'll be a swerve.
We'll just just take it all down.
But in the initial thing, like, Ricky Starks is back. Jordan Grace just signed. Like, all these huge moves. a couple of guys getting called, I guess you could say called up from the level up level of NXT is awesome, but won't be seen as such. And I think already people are giving them comparisons to the debut of the Shield, which is a pretty high fucking mark to try to match up to be fair. It's like when people look at Chad Gable and say, oh, he's going to be the next Kurt Angle. It's like, okay, well, you just fucked him over.
No doubt, and it's going to be a difficult thing too, because people immediately are going to be like, "Oh, it's a Retribution? Is it the Shield 2.0? All those type of things." So,
how about you let
especially
it be
with the skull masks, they have that kind of Shield look, feel to it, but we don't know. So it could be a stupid Retribution type angle, and Retribution, I give them a little bit of credit initially, where they attacked the truck, and they had the fire bomb with the Mountain Top cocktail and stuff. Like they
threw a brick through the window and then threw another brick through the hole that they had already made in the window.
Yeah, so then it got a bit ridiculous. And here's the thing, though, chainsawing the ropes and whatnot, but
it's a bit gutsy as well, though, because they just set up this new faction warfare between Sean Spears' group and the family, and then cut to this video package hyping up another faction.
Exactly.
So I hope whatever the family and Sean Spears' group are doing doesn't have anything to do with Judgment Day, or with, not Judgment Day, Vengeance Day.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to muddy the water on that a little bit.
Thankfully, it doesn't seem like that's going to be anywhere near it. But
yeah, if it's four guys that I totally don't even know and I'm getting to see them completely from scratch, that's fine. I was kind of digging the initial rumor before they showed the four silhouettes. I was kind of digging the initial rumors that it might be Sami Callihan.
Yeah,
because that would be kind of awesome. And he was tagging with PCO, but that's not a thing anymore.
No,
smashing the belt and all. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a worthy conversation to have because surprises are awesome, but are we hyping ourselves into disappointment with how great some of the surprises have been?
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too, like you said, because it gets it to be a little bit of that dangerous territory where you're like, ooh, did I overhype myself expecting, the return of Stone Cold, and all we got was, another Grayson Waller type idea.
And it's where you throw in the messaging of you can't bash a company for not doing what you booked in your head.
Exactly.
All right, so we've taken a lot to get to the actual card, and we got about 30 minutes left.
Yeah, hey, before we actually get into the card, Spaz, how do you feel about there being 6 matches instead of 5?
Instead of 4 like the Rumble.
Right?
Oh, my God. It's not going to be long. Like, the NXT shows have never been long.
It'll be 3 hours, I think, still like the others, but...
Because there's going to be these 6 matches, plus whatever the glitch thing is, plus I think there's going to be a lot of other outside involvement in one of the matches. We'll get there when we get there.
Yes.
But there's, not from a spectacle point of view, because the Rumble is the Rumble, but from a storytelling, moving parts point of view, I might make the argument that I'm more excited about this. I mean, I'm excited about Jey Uso. We haven't really dug down on that much. I'm excited about Charlotte, which makes me a terrible person, obviously. Chamber is shaping up. They put the Chamber in the Dome, and I'm going to be there. But, this is sneaking up on us and being a pretty good card, because we had 3 matches signed before this week's episode of NXT. We've doubled the amount of matches, and we've changed one of them. So, all right. I want to start with Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe in the strap match. I want to get your thoughts first, because I've got some conflicting thoughts about this match. Not that it's going to be bad, but just where do people sit type of stuff. So I want you to go first on this one.
Okay, it's kind of a precarious position they put themselves in here, because they want and need to build up Eddie Thorpe. So they have him come out. He's attacking. He's the dastardly heel, getting revenge for how the title match and that whole scene played out. But in a way, it's kind of a weird turn, because they made Eddie somewhat of a sympathetic kind of case for a little bit, because you're like, oh, he keeps getting screwed, he's not into things, like, what, he didn't really attack anybody, but he's getting blamed. What's the deal here? So Trick's still the face, but I think Eddie needs to win here. And Trick can deal with a loss here if there's...
Eddie's winning. I don't have any doubt in that.
I think Eddie has to. Trick can obviously, he was the champ, he can take a few losses here and there, and especially if they do it in a way with the strap, he chokes him out or something along that. But I think we're going to get Thorpe victorious here. He's going to be building himself into something with the main event picture again soon.
All right. So you got two characters in two very different spots right now. Trick Williams,
drastically different.
Trick Williams has, this is not a dig at the guy, obviously, but Trick Williams has become such a not headline in NXT over the past couple of weeks, because what's happened to him is what's happened to a lot of people is we think they're getting to the end of their NXT run, they have their championship run, they lose their title, they maybe have one more match, and then they're off to the main roster. You think they're off to the main roster, they're at their highest point, they're ready to have the rocket strapped to them, they're going to show up on Raw any day now. And then they don't. So what it does is it makes us, or I'll speak for myself anyways. If I'm so sure that somebody's going to go to the main roster because they are ready, they are the big thing, and then they don't go, you immediately start thinking, okay, maybe I was wrong. Now what was I wrong about? Now you start nitpicking stuff. So like him being as high as he was and then not being called up has sort of like brought him down a peg, and you see him playing it off as kind of a, he's still the good guy, but he doesn't care as much about being a good guy. He just wants to get his hands on whoever he's pissed off at. He shoved a couple people in the past couple of weeks. He's, shoulder barged a couple of people that weren't even necessarily fucking with him. They were just in his way.
Yeah.
Conversely, you've got Eddie Thorpe, who I'm with you, sort of, where you can kind of see where he's coming from, but I think he's very much a Kevin Owens character in the sense of we know why Kevin Owens is mad, but Kevin Owens is still wrong. Like the way they've played him off against Ava, who
he feels justified, but
he feels justified, but they've done it in such a way where it's like, oh, what do you mean you don't have time to talk to me? And meanwhile, it's like because Ava's dealing with a superstar that's just been injured or somebody's just gone to the hospital.
Imperative.
So like we know why you're pissed off, but you're the one that's being entirely unreasonable. So I don't think it's a sympathetic thing. I think he's built up an entitlement.
Okay, that's a better way to explain it. See, because that's why I said, like, sympathetic case, that wasn't the right explanation. Like, you got what I was going for, though.
But here's the thing as well, though, is he, and I'm going to say this about another couple of people later on down the card, he feels like a dude that's breaking out of his character.
Yes.
Like, he when he came in, very, very cool, like, very in touch with his, his Native American roots. There was the guy that they were going to tag team him with for a bit that was similar, but I think he's maybe been cut. I can't even remember what his name was, to be honest with you, but he was very in touch with the Native American culture, like with the entrance and all that kind of stuff, but also he was like the DJ guy, and it's like, okay, multifaceted character. He's got a particular set of skills that he uses to also harken back to his heritage. They showed him as being a badass by having him go a couple rounds in the NXT Underground.
Yeah.
But all those things,
they tried to put him over as much as they could.
But like when they start doing the heritage stuff, it's like, okay, this is your thing. You're from here.
Yeah.
Direct example I'm going to give you. Here's Sheamus. He's an Irish guy. Here's Finn Balor. He's a badass guy with a really cool Venom gimmick.
Yeah.
Like Finn Balor's gimmick was never, hey, I'm the Irish guy.
No.
You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of like, it's good representation-wise. It's bad as you are just this. And, oh, by the way, you DJ sometimes. Very, very gimmicky, very, very NXT.
Yes.
Right? In all the ways that NXT can get away with stuff like that. What he's been doing with Trick and with Oba, feels like a pissed-off dude that's tired of playing a character. And he's got a little bit of an unsettling nature to him now that... Not to like a Moxley or a Hangman or a Swerve kind of level, but he's got that little glint in his eye of like, I'm gonna do something terrible to you on Sunday.
Yeah,
and it feels like he's stopped being a character and started being a person, and I mean that as the highest compliment, especially like I say in NXT where it's so gimmick heavy. So I've got all the investment and all the curiosity in the world for him, and for that to be at a time where things are kind of falling off with Trick, it's unfortunate for Trick, but it's really fortunate for him because whether you like him, whether you hate him, the curiosity and the intention and the investment and the what we want to see out of this match is all going to be on him. So this is his night to take.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to win, or if he loses, he's going to be like, okay, Trick scores a quick win, but he comes back so pissed off that he does something even worse to him after the match. Like, the moral victory will be his whether or not he wins the match, but I think he wins the match as well.
Okay. I think he's going to win the match and, also win the scenario, the fight, however you want to look at it, the after.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with both. I think Eddie Thorpe, like you said, he's breaking out of, and he doesn't have to be what he was before, so he is breaking out of that character. And like I said, sympathetic wasn't the right, justifiable maybe, or understandable. That's more what I was going for, but you get the point. So
yeah,
how
dare you not make me the big priority and all that?
Exactly, but the next match is even less of that. I mean, this is just a story of vengeance between Ethan Page.
Oh, you're doing
Javon
Ethan and Javon.
Evans.
Okay, you've got them in different order. That's cool.
Yes.
Javon's gonna lose in the best way, I think. Ethan's gonna take it like he's already made himself a beaten up opponent.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna go for the face the whole time. Javon playing the. They're doing this a lot recently. I don't care if I'm cleared. You're gonna let me wrestle anyway. Well, your mouth is wired shut. And you sound like you could be doing a Super Bowl halftime show. I'm an asshole. It's fine. Ethan, again, is a goofy character breaking out of character and showing, this goofy character is also kind of devious, kind of evil. Javon's going to get his stuff in, and I think he's going to get his stuff in and look awesome and have a tragic loss at the end of this.
Yeah. So I agree. I think Javon's going to be heartbroken in this scenario, but it's going to lead to some type of like a moment of revenge somehow. I think that's the key here.
Yeah, I think somewhere later on down the line, I think even if Javon, we talked about Josh Alexander before. The rumor is Josh Alexander might sign with WWE. His contract will technically be over by then, blah, blah, blah. If Javon even looks like he's going to get a victory, my mind is going to tell me, okay, this is where they debut Josh Alexander, and the North just fuck up Javon Evans.
Yeah, but Javon no longer has a tag partner. So.
Exactly. Well, doesn't that make it all the more devious and despicable?
Exactly. So it could add to the story. So I wouldn't hate to see that. Everything with the North and how it turned, from the North Armory and all that. Yeah.
They turned Josh Alexander face for his last two matches just so he could leave on a high note with TNA.
But he was a heel.
But he was a heel, and I was surprised because everywhere I've been sat in crowds in Destiny. Yes, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. And in TNA. In two different companies, I watched him ascend to being the guy. The guy that everybody was behind. The
standard for a reason.
Yeah, he was the modern iteration of AJ Styles.
Absolutely.
What AJ Styles was to TNA, I saw Josh Alexander be that in two different companies.
Mm-hmm.
I was so pleasantly surprised by how good he is at being an asshole. And he's got the technical
knowledge. And he's damn good at it.
And it's not like, oh, I'm an asshole, you better watch out for me, I might swing a chair at you. It's like, no, this is a guy who's like a technical mastermind. I've watched him up close and personal, break people's fingers for the fun of it.
Because.
He's an asshole with all the tools in the world to be a really scary guy if they lean into it. To the point where I think he could overshadow Ethan Page. Because Josh Alexander doesn't have that goofy element to him. There's not, even when he's a good guy, he's a good, strong, good guy, and he's a bad guy, he's an asshole. Ethan Page is kind of a goofball, kind of a heel, could be a tweener, whatever. But if the two of them team up again, then I'm all for it. But that being said, I think Javon Evans has a hell of a night. It's a showcase night for him.
Yeah.
But his story is served by losing this match.
Because if he wins, it's over. You got revenge. If you lose, they can keep it going, and like you said, they can add more people, or there's more to tell here than the initial. I agree entirely. So.
Okay. Fun match of the night, or at least what I'm going to be calling, what I'm anticipating to be the most fun match of the night, is for the NXT tag titles.
Yes.
Fraxium versus Briggs and Inamura. And before we get into this match, how fun was that three-way on Tuesday?
Oh my God, that was great. And then Fraxium, how many matches did they tape in a row with Impact? They wrestled, three times in a row that night?
They've done the Rascals. They did the Nemeth brothers last week. This week right now, that's happening while we're recording this. I think
they're Hardys, right? No.
No.
No,
there's been a tease for the Hardys, which makes me think the Hardys are going to show up on Saturday. I think the match tonight, I'm going to have to go back and watch it. I think this is where we're getting Rascals and Wesley versus, the Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley and his backup. I don't think Fraxium are on this taping. But there was a thing.
I don't think so either.
There was a thing taped backstage at TNA. The last time they were there, between them and the Hardys, just meeting in the back. It's like, hey, we've been keeping an eye on you. Congratulations, champion to champion. Maybe we'll. And Jeff says maybe we'll see you in another universe.
Yeah. So that's.
But they didn't. They didn't release that until Tuesday. Until this past Tuesday, they released that video right as NXT was going off the air.
Oh, so you know what? That might have been why I saw the headline then. That's what I'm thinking of. So I might have just misconstrued it in my mind. But yeah, it makes sense.
I'm wondering if we see champions versus champions as opposed to somebody else getting another title shot. Fraxium versus the Hardys would be a lot of fun. But Briggs and Inamura, like,
where would you do that though? Roadblock or Stand and Deliver?
No, I think they would. I think they would want a proper tag team title defense at Stand and Deliver. Oi, oi, oi. But Roadblock as like NXT's, would it be NXT's debut at Madison Square Garden, even though it's the theater at Madison Square Garden? Probably. So
I would say yes.
You want to have a highlight there. So you bring the Hardys versus Fraxium in the main event of Roadblock. It's not necessarily a regular episode of NXT. It is Madison Square Garden adjacent. I think that fits.
It does.
Just a nice, fun, respectful match between the two teams. But Briggs and Inamura are awesome. Briggs, and this is kind of the babyface version of what I was saying about Thorpe. Briggs doesn't feel like an NXT guy. Briggs
really doesn't.
Briggs and Inamura feel like, hey, we've brought in this team from Noah.
And here's the thing with that. I don't know a lot about Inamura.
Neither do I. What I know is what I've seen.
He's one I'm very not well versed in, which is rare for me. Usually I'm the one that if there's a new guy, I go and look him up. Like, what have you done? What are you known for?
What have you done
with
for
him?
Me
I haven't had that exactly. I haven't had that choice, and it's interesting to see hey, what are they going for? What are they aiming to do with these two? Because Fraxium, I never expected them to have the run they've had.
Okay. With all the big names that we see on Raw and SmackDown, and even crossing over to TNA as well, they were the tag team of 2024.
Oh, absolutely.
That's fair. That's not out of the ordinary to say, right?
No, and that's such a weird thing to say in one realm of it, because it not only NXT's always had great tag teams, yes, but it's just oh my God, these guys were so involved in every single thing, From every PLE onwards, they delivered you, 5-star matchups with every competitor possible.
But who would have seen it though? When they were having so many matches against each other, when Ben Carter, who had a cup of coffee in AEW, decided to go over to NXT, and oh my God, can you believe they named him Nathan? And oh my God, they had A-Kid in NXT UK. Can you imagine them bringing him over and sticking him in a mask? And then on top of that, they end up fighting each other, become a team, kind of like what I said with Aleister Black and Karrion Kross, but that's another story for another day. But they really are a Sheamus and Cesaro type story. They're not as identical. I mean, they're both high flyers.
Yes, but
they're not as identical as they appear. They do this constant bickering among themselves, and they're a better team when they're arguing with each other thing.
Absolutely.
They cause other teams to break up instead, which is
and even when you thought they were going to break up, they ended up not and becoming stronger. They defied expectations with a lot of these things. So I mean, a lot of times it's just been oh God, this has been fun. This has been very competitive. But like you said, when you don't have a traditional tag team of guys who want to work together because they've been friends, they've been up and down whatever it is, mutual respect, up and down the same road, blah, blah, blah. This was not that case. Like you said, it was enemies that became forced partners, that became friends, that became the tag team of the year, that became some of the best champions.
Am I misremembering? Because you're going to have to remember this for me. Were they not thrown together as the last announced team the last time they did a Dusty Classic? Is that how it came about?
I'm pretty sure that was
it was a similar situation. The same thing but the other side of that too, with Briggs and Inamura, where Briggs went off to Noah, and I don't watch Noah, I'm not going to pretend that I do, but he went over there and somebody was very welcoming to him, and they worked together over there, and he's now returning the favor. Let me show you to my family, my universe over here in NXT, which is a really cool story for intercompany interplay or whatever you want to say. But they're big dudes that are fast and like run over people. Like they were the big dudes in a match that had Hank and Tank in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Hank and Tank are going to have their moment as well, but this was like they walked into this match saying like we're going to make a statement, and I wouldn't mind them winning on Saturday.
I wouldn't either. I mean, I feel like
actually,
part of me has been like we've seen the only thing we haven't seen is maybe the match with the Hardys and a couple little things here and there, and they don't have to be the champions to go against and have that match.
This is what I was about to say. This is going to be the tit for tat. Fraxium took the tag titles over to TNA, defended them in TNA in a historical thing, right? Hardys doing the opposite, coming to Madison Square Garden to defend the TNA titles against Fraxium after just having lost to Briggs and Inamura. Then you can have Briggs and Inamura somewhere else on the card. Fraxium going for the TNA tag titles at the main event of an elevated episode of NXT. That's a headline. Never mind the fact that it's the Hardys, which adds a little bit to it as well. That's a headline, though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. I am going to stick my neck out here, and I'm going to go with Briggs and Inamura.
All right, I'm going to stay with Fraxium just to be the outlier, but they did...
Oh, I don't think you're the outlier. I think I am.
Well, you might be the outlier, but I don't know. A lot of people seem to be online thinking that they're going to lose the titles. I've seen more people...
But that's the whole thing. The whole thing with Fraxium is every time we've gone in and said, "Oh, here's a really awesome team. They could lose." Rah.
Exactly.
Now,
so you were right in one regard. So that they were put together for the NXT Tag Team Championship Eliminator Tournament.
Okay.
They defeated No Quarter Kretsch Crew in the first round, LWO and the Good Brothers in a triple threat to face the Wolf Dogs at Stand and Deliver. Oi, oi, oi. They lost that match, and then they won in a rematch. And then they've had the titles.
That's right.
And they lost the titles to Chase U.
And see, there you go. That's a match you remember as well as Fraxium versus the Wolf Dogs, which gives you an idea of what they can do as the fast team against a powerhouse team, which now that you've brought it up, makes me more excited for this. Because Briggs, you tried to tell me about Briggs ages ago.
Yeah.
Briggs is a machine.
He's
Inamura's a tag team partner that he's found that's just as much of a machine.
Absolutely.
And eventually you can see if they win those titles, it's a pretty good roundabout story for Sean Spears' guys to come after them because Briggs and Jensen.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, for guys that weren't a tag team, these two feel like already they're complementing each other very well.
Oh, yeah.
And they do things in similar moves and ways that makes me like, oh, shit, that's really cool. Oh, that's, so I have enjoyed... especially Briggs is, like you said, more of like that heavy-fisted offset. So we'll see what
Inamura doing that thing on the top rope before his splash where he was like bounce. He looks like he was like charging up for his splash almost.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of that. I mean, it was on top rope, not on the outside of the ring, but it made me think of what's it, Ultimate Warrior, when he makes his entrance and he just shakes the ropes because he's like, that's just how excited he is. Inamura was doing that on the top rope, getting ready for a splash. Like, he was charging his splash.
Yep, just charging himself up.
But yeah, no, I don't think we as fans can lose either way with that match. Now,
I think it's gonna be
I'm going to bring it around. I'm going to let the two ladies matches finish it off. So I'm going to bring it around to probably the most obvious match of the night. Obafemi's going to kill both members of A-Town Down Under, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's not much to say here. The only thing that we're really looking to is the breakup, right? I mean, I feel like they really seem like Austin Theory is going to be the face, especially with the promos they've cut, with the Waller, effect and all that. It really seems like, Theory is going to be the face and Waller's going to remain the heel. And Grayson Waller said in interviews and whatnot, he loves being a heel because that's him. He doesn't want to go and shake everybody's hand and kiss babies. And he's better at not caring.
He's so good at being a heel. If they fight each other, he's going to be the one that gets cheered.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, Austin Theory still has the Vince stink on him. Like, we talk about the ghost of Vince. Like, there's no bigger victim of the ghost of Vince than Austin Theory.
I mean, he had the Money in the Bank briefcase, and look at how that turned out. Yeah.
Didn't he cash it in for the U.S. title?
Yes.
Oh, dear God.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, though, right? They're all connected. They're all WWE, right? It feels very disconnected for the Waller and Theory breakup to happen in NXT. Seeing as they're they're a main roster tag team, and they've just moved as a team to Raw. I don't mind
I
it.
don't think
like,
we're going to get the breakup here, but I think it'll be the start to the disillusion of them.
It'll be the whole 2-on-1, 2-on-1, 2-on-1 until one of them tries to go for a pin.
Yeah.
It'll be very formulaic. My prediction, and this is the only reason I figure this is going to be the main event, otherwise I would put either of the ladies' matches in the main event, quite honestly. Prediction, Femi kills both of them. He's standing victorious. Starks comes out and stares him down to end the show. I can speak, I swear.
I wouldn't hate that either. A lot of people think Starks is coming to immediately laying claim to fame with Obafemi, but because I don't see him fitting in with the North American title scene.
I would if it wasn't Tony D handling it right now, because of the type of character he is.
Yeah.
Like, Ricky Starks is a real-life sarcastic asshole. Tony D, much as I love the gimmick, is a guy cosplaying a Mafia Don.
But if we get Tony D to lose the title, as we said before, to Spears, and then you have
I could see that.
Spears and Starks, sign me up for that. I
would, yes. 100%.
So I'm not sure he
know.
goes right to the main title. I could see him and Oba being like the way to go, certainly, but if having him be sent right to the main title is dangerous. So
do they have? Because I don't think it's like the Jordan Grace thing. I don't think Ricky Starks is going to be in NXT very long.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's going to be brief.
From now till Stand and Deliver, can they build you a convincing Starks versus Obafemi match?
Oh, absolutely.
There we go.
They could do it in 2 weeks' time, and I'd be all for it. I guarantee it. So,
like, you could have him win the title at Stand and Deliver, and be on the main roster by the end of the year.
Yeah,
like, I think you can speedrun him like that. Who did they push really fast like that? I think Bobby Roode was one that they figured out pretty quick they had something with, and he had a title run and some pretty questionable defenses, and then he was on the main roster because I think they liked his entrance more than anything else.
Yeah, the Glorious.
Yeah, and now he's a road agent, which is awesome.
Hey, as long as he's doing what he likes, can't hate that. But
I was gonna use Corey Graves as the example. Like, he got hurt, couldn't wrestle anymore. Immediately they're like, "Why don't you try commentary?" And now he's on NXT, and he loves NXT. Jake.
It's the place he wants to be. He said it himself.
There's nowhere else he'd rather be.
Nowhere.
Obviously, we're gonna finish it off with the ladies. There's 6 matches. We're on to the 5th one. It's pretty cut and dry. Stephanie Vacour is taking that Women's North American Championship off Fallon Henley, isn't she?
I think she is. I think this has been set in stone for a while. I don't see, like, Julia lost, her first title match, and I don't see that happening here. I see Stephanie continuing this dominating reign, but, and we don't know that, Julia will retain. We're going to talk about that main event afterwards. But if she does, and she holds on to her title, I see people saying that they want, in the worst way, to see Julia take on Stephanie in a title versus title match.
I get why people want to see that. They want to see the Hogan Warrior thing and whatever. I think if you are on a brand that's trying to develop talent, by putting 2 champions against each other, you're taking a potential spot away from 2 other challengers.
Yeah.
That's my problem with that. I think Stephanie Vacour has a cup of coffee with the mid-card title and then chases her friend. Yeah. I think you're gonna have like a Benoit Eddie moment where they're both hugging each other at the end of the night with their respective belts, and I think that's gonna be awesome.
You think that's gonna be?
I think so.
Tie up for it. That could be. So
I think we could see something like that this Saturday. I don't think they stay buddies going forward. I think we're going to have, because they said, the big 3 are coming to NXT. I think you're gonna have a moment where I think
so too. I really do. I think it'll work, and I don't necessarily want to see them fight. So that's why I was in the camp, but I wanted to know how you broke it down. And like you said,
the way I'm breaking it down is Zaria's not on this show, but Zaria has this really, I like the vibe between her and Sol Ruca as a tag team. They kind of bounce off each other. Like, it's an odd couple, but not, oh my God, look at how crazy this team is.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I think once we get the belts away from Bianca and Naomi, which, God damn it, has to happen soon, sooner or later they're going to carry the WWE Women's Tag Titles. You're going to see a moment where Julia, Stephanie, and Zaria all have championships.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, honestly, and I swear to you, you took the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say, with Sol Ruca, she's kind of one that, all right, she didn't win titles, but she spent more than enough time in NXT, so I could see them using her and Zarya, obviously, because they have something in her that's like a blonde Rhea kind of thing to it, like she's this big, dominating Jordan Grace style powerhouse, and she does pretty cool, innovative offense. So her and Sol are like the yin and yang. They both kind of fill that void. Giving them the titles to go on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT with, I think, would be a great choice. It's not only a great choice
I think if
NXT
you wanted
to showcase the women, but it gives the main roster a reason to have the tag titles too. So
I'm going to go back on what I just said about like champions versus champions, right? But if they ever wanted to do something like, hey, there's a big WWE pay-per-view coming along, we want to have like an NXT showcase match on our big, like say, opening match of WrestleMania Night 1. We want to have a showcase of NXT talent, right?
Exactly.
Can you imagine if that showcase is the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Zarya and Sol Ruca versus North American Champion Stephanie Vacour and NXT Champion Julia?
Right? I mean,
that's NXT coming to WrestleMania and throwing their dick on the table, metaphorically
and NXT
speaking.
has done those type of things before, and they have.
Yeah.
So I could see something like that dream scenario, and see, this is the thing. We do get dream matches in AEW. You were at Forbidden Door, you got to see Omega and Ospreay. Like
I didn't have anything to say about either of them before that match.
Exactly, and seeing how things have changed and come and progressed, and it's like, all right.
I can have my mind changed on things, guys.
Yes,
try it sometimes.
We can have
the grass won't hurt and the oxygen will not burn your lungs.
I don't know about that one. Depends on.
Depends on where you live, I guess.
Yeah, that's city air here. But no, honestly, it really.
Just stay away from Sasha after she's had a taco.
Oh God!
Never mind that. Stay away from Sasha's taco.
No.
I don't want it to burn when I pee.
Yeah, don't ask your husband about that one.
Oh.
So he can go seamstress somewhere else. But I can't help but chuckle at the fact of them really going ahead and just being dominant because they can be dominant. I'm talking about NXT. So they can have those type of dream match scenarios and put it on a special event. And they've done it before, and I think we'll see them do it again. I think we're going to get more showcasing of NXT on main roster stuff as well. People are going to come up without being on the main roster. I think we're going to see more integration of things as they move NXT to be more that third brand, and AEW is going to see, oh, look at that.
I want to see them represented more on the main brand, but I do want them to still keep their own identity. The foreboding, like, first harbinger of things going the other way is the NXT shows are labeled as WWE shows now, and I know what they're trying to do, but like NXT works because you successfully made a different looking brand. You did with NXT what you tried to do between Raw and SmackDown for years. You made a brand that felt differently. So promote them, like work with them, encourage them along, help them where you can, but don't absorb them.
Exactly. And it was one of those events too where it was like, hey, we can always add things, we can change things, but it doesn't really, like, it's not the be all end all either.
No,
so
of course not. Now the main event. I'm not going to lie. I think the main event is pretty cut and dry. I think Julia's walking out. There's way too many stories going on with all the other women.
There is a lot that can happen in this match. So we have Julia versus Bayley versus Roxanne versus Cora.
Now Cora J. I had to change the thumbnail because they changed that match. God damn it.
Right? So Cora's been busy. She's on Impact tonight. Who's she facing tonight, too?
Xia Brookside.
Xia Brookside, yep.
Who's another one, for those of you that aren't watching TNA, Xia Brookside is another one in the realm of, like, early Hugger Bailey or Babyface Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
Just genuine, or Willow, if you're an AEW fan. Just genuine, like, feel-good, like, Snow White, happy Babyface, but, like, not in the obnoxious John Cena way.
Yeah. Because she was, she's been working her way up for a while, and she was
in NXT UK.
Yeah.
UK, not, she never made it over to...
Not primary, no, but she was
primary,
in UK. No. And she was one that I was like, oh, I could see them picking her up. So now that she's with Impact, I think they'll kind of, eventually
they'll cross her over for something.
Yeah.
But here's my thing, though, right? Julia is the only one in the match that doesn't have an enemy outside the match, right?
Yes.
Because with Bayley, you could pretty much...
She's just a champion that's got a marked target on her back.
But... Oh, yeah. No, she's got 3 enemies in the match, but all the rest of them have enemies outside the match.
Exactly.
Bayley has... Just about anybody from the main roster could use this as a chance to cheap shot Bayley.
But also, Bayley's kind of crossed some of the heels, too. You know, her and Roxanne and Cora, so they want to take her out, but...
Cora they're in the match. I'm talking about, like, other people that might interfere. Yeah. Because
I got your point. Yeah, so
Bayley might have somebody else from the main roster that looks at her having an NXT match as an opportunity to take a shot at her. Roxanne, we know, has an already existing history with Jordynne Grace, who's signed with WWE but hasn't technically shown up yet on a weekly show since she's become a WWE star. And as
we don't know where she's landing, so do we see her debut Sunday? You know, that's a possibility.
So anybody from the main roster could fuck with Bayley. Jordynne Grace is rumored to be spending some time in NXT, which is fine, and she could have unfinished business with Roxanne. Cora has been spending her time in TNA. She's got a feud with Masha Slamovich. I would love to see Masha Slamovich defend that title at Roadblock. So, but Julia's got I guess you could say the lucky position of all of her enemies are in the match.
Yes, okay, so that's a great point. And
she's retaining. Like, there's no way she's not a champion.
Absolutely, but I think it comes down to Bayley gets taken out by Roxanne and Cora working together, and then Cora goes to win, and then Roxanne's like, no, and she's like, wait, I thought it was my time finally for a title. You've been champion, and I don't know necessarily we'll get the breakup here, but it seems like this will be the one where they split working together.
This is the point where I want to make the distinction between this and the men's title, because they're telling the same story twice.
Yes.
You've got the team of Roxy and Cora. Oh my God, are they going to split up within the body of this match? And then you got the same thing with A-Town Down Under in the men's side.
Yeah.
So once you see one match, hopefully it'll tell us that we're not doubling down on the same trope in the same night.
Yeah, because I feel like
it's a little bit of a loophole.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a loophole. It's one of those things where if you were more critical, like we're pretty high on NXT, but a critical person could come in and say, oh, that's the same story in 2 different matches on the same night. That's a bit lazy.
Yeah, people were actually commenting saying it's pretty much the same match they had at, Vengeance Day last year.
I think that's why they changed. I think that might be why they changed the women's match, to give it a little bit of variety.
Yeah, because it was Roxanne defending against, I forget last year's, but...
Well, because once again, there's only one match on this card that's just a match, just a singles match, no titles, no gimmicks, and that's Ethan and Javon. Because Trick and Thorpe is a strap match, tag team titles is obviously a tag title match, men's title... Actually, no, that's not true. Fallon Henley and Stephanie Vacour.
They're a singles match, too. Yep, that's on the bottom of my page. So.
But that's a title match.
Yes.
Right? The only match, what do I say, like match for match's sake, is Ethan and Javon, which is why I think something really terrible is going to happen in that match.
That's why I said I could see Javon, if he doesn't get attacked, then he's not getting the win. You know what I mean? Like, he can't get... Because then it ends the story. So it seems like they definitely have more to tell there. But with this, I could see Cora having a chance to win and Roxy breaking up the pin.
Oh, yeah.
I really
100%.
think we're going to get that moment where Cora Jade's going to get the double team Julia... 1, 2, oh wait, I'm gonna stop you. You can't win. I want to win, and then they'll start killing each other.
I will say, like, a lot of people are really hard rather on Ava as the GM character, which we've talked about before. I don't agree, but whatever. One great thing from a couple of weeks ago was they had the big 4-way promo in the ring, and it was Bayley, and it was Roxy, and it was Cora, and it was Julia, and Bayley goes back to the general manager's office. I want a match with that bitch. Which one?
Yes, which one?
Ava's not really that funny, but that was funny.
That was great. And apparently Ava's going to be getting more of a bigger role. That was reported last week, saying that, with her bloodline involvement, she might be getting a bigger on-screen role. So we'll see what comes of that, but she's already involved in quite a bit of the segments on TV, so...
remains to be seen. I get what people like. She doesn't exactly have her dad... No, I don't hate her. She, a lot of people are measuring her up to her dad, which really isn't fair, but...
Yeah, people call her the worst GM ever, and I just don't see it that way.
No, Brad Maddox is a thing.
No kidding.
Vicky Guerrero was a thing. I feel bad saying this because she just got released and she's an awesome wrestler, but Sonya Deville was general manager.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, she was like, what's his name's assistant for a little while?
I forgot.
I mean,
about
she was dealing with stuff. There's a reason why she wasn't wrestling. All due respect to her, but like, she's a wrestler. Like, trying to do a non-wrestler role when you really just want to see somebody wrestle is always a hard one to pull
that
off.
One's not easy to take to. So
I'm gonna say Eddie Thorpe. I'm gonna go with Briggs and Inamura. I'm gonna go with Ethan. I'm gonna go with Femi. Obviously, I'm gonna go with Stephanie Vacour, and I'm gonna go with Julia.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Ethan Page. I'm going to say Eddie Thorpe wins. I'm going to say Fraxium retains.
Okay.
I'm going to say Stephanie Vacour, definitely. Julia, definitely. And Obafemi. But I don't think Grayson Waller and Austin Theory will turn. I was a little more leaning on it at first, but you made a great point because they're coming from the main roster. So they'll probably want to have the match on the main roster. So having them break up on NXT doesn't quite... Yeah. So something could happen here where they inadvertently screw one another, then they argue about it on Raw.
It could be another step. It could be another step to the breakup. I don't think the actual, like, them coming to blows. Like, they obviously faked it on Tuesday so that they could double team Femi. I was worried that they were going to do the same as the ladies and add one more to the guys as well. And I was like, oh, it's going to be Trick's last shot. And it's like, no, Trick has the match with Thorpe, and we're good, and we're fine. Yeah. Surprise fourth person in there on the night, Josh Alexander. I'm going to keep pushing for that. Interesting, because I already said before, Ricky Starks comes down and stares down Obafemi after the world title match, right?
Yeah.
So whoever these four guys are with the glitch tees, they're showing up on Saturday. Who do they fuck with?
That's a great question. Who do they go after? I don't know. You know, we kind of didn't even think that far ahead. Like, is it an anti-NXT thing? Is it a pro something? I mean, it could be a bunch of faces. I doubt it, but we really don't know.
Well, they wouldn't be present.
I'm saying they could surprise. I don't think.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? What's that? If they wanted to go, because there's four of them, we see the four silhouettes, right?
Yes.
The only match on the card that has four guys is the tag match. So if they really want to make a statement of, like, nobody is safe, just have them run down in the middle of the tag title match and all four of them take out all four of the competitors.
Yeah, that would work.
Because you're not safe if you're a high flyer, you're not safe if you're a luchador, you're not safe if you're a visitor from Noah, and you're not safe if you're a big motherfucker from NXT.
Certainly
like not. That does a pretty broad... Actually, I'm all for that now that I've thought of it. I like my idea.
You talking it into existence really kind of makes sense. So.
It'll surprise nobody. I really like my idea.
I'm all for your idea.
I don't know. It's so funny because it's one of the selling points of the show, but there's so much other stuff going on the show that it manages to become an afterthought, even though it's one of the main advertising points of the show.
Yeah.
So NXT's doing pretty good, and we've been talking for a long time.
Yes, just under shy of our 2-hour record with the Rumble, but
there we go. Tell them where to find you, buddy.
Well, they can see us this Saturday for Vengeance Day Review Live, youtube.com/Jake DeMarco or Countdown Ended. Head over there. You can find me at Countdown Ended on Twitter. And then you'll find me here guest stating on the state of wrestling.
And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. Welcome back, Jake. This has been your preview for Vengeance Day, and we talked about a whole lot of other stuff. We are your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start another conversation in the comment section if you wish. But until next time, me and Jake are signing out. Bye.
You my Valentine.